If you're hearing you're waiting, just give us a bit of time. We're still a bit early. Apparently it needs a little bit of time to get itself going. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Hi, one person who's still here at the moment. I'm glad you're waiting. So am I. I'll tell you what, we'll give it another minute, and then what I'll do is I'll do a short little warm up before we actually do the show. You know, you usually get a warm up on a comedy show. Why not? Give me 1 minute, be right back. The magic of entertainment. You just noticed one of my lights falling. I know, and I thought you thought this was a cheap production as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's leave you there. That's not doing anything at all. So let's stick with it. Alright, well, we've got a couple of minutes before we start. But while we're here, we may as well do something. So I'll tell you what. The other week, I went for a health MOT. Now, if you don't know what health MOT is, actually, I wasn't sure what health MOT was. And it did worry me a little bit, because when I went to get an MOT for my car and it failed, they wouldn't let me take the car out of the place. So I was a bit concerned that I'd be allowed to go home if I failed. And what happened was, I know health MOTs basically, they take your height, your weight, your BMI, all those sorts of things. And then they predict how old, well, they kind of predict how old your body age is. So not your actual age, it's how old your body age is. Which I thought was a bit of an interesting thing. So when I did mine, it turned out that I had the body of someone 30 years older than me. I did see if I could give them it back, but apparently I was stuck with it. So the doctor said to me, he said, look, unless you do something to either make your body stand still, or you invent a time machine and get it go backwards, you're going to die 30 years before your time. I thought, it's a bit of a scary thought. I mean, I like Back to the Future, but I don't think that's real. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do something about this. So I started eating right. Well, hold on. I joined a gym. I bought lots of vegetables, lots of fruit. I mean, I bought them, I didn't eat them, and I joined the gym. I didn't say I went, but I was getting ready. I thought I'm going to make a big deal out of sorting all this out. And then I took this little Facebook Live, or this little Facebook quiz, and it's on Facebook, so it must be legit. And what it said was, we can tell you how and when you're going to die. I thought, well, yeah, it's got to be legit. It's Facebook. So I put my details in, and basically what it said was that I'm going to die 4th of March 2022, and the cause of death is I'm going to get hit by a bus. So I thought, to hell with it, see it another time. Alright, it's 8 o'clock, it's time to get going. So, welcome to Martin Wallace's Comedy Club, or as it's also known, my living room. I am still using my daughter's karaoke microphone, and it is still unplugged. So, everything's the same. So welcome to Comedy Sucks. This is my brand new show. And when I say brand new, I only wrote it 2 weeks ago, so it can get any newer than that. And it's never been performed. Now, Comedy Sucks. It's a bit of a negative title, isn't it? I bet you're thinking, is he just asking us to watch him complain about the thing that we thought he was going to be doing here in the first place? And if that's what you thought, well done you. It's exactly what's going to happen. Actually, I wrote the show because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about comedy. I think there's people out there who think it's easy. There are those who think it's very exotic or very glamorous. But I'm here to dissuade you of all those notions, because starting out in comedy is nothing like that. The first thing you've got to realise when you start out in comedy is that all the gigs are the same. They're free. I mean, they're not all free, but they may as well be. Because some of them you get paid in prize money, others you get paid in drinks, and others you get paid in fuel. Others you don't get paid at all. But that is why what you'll find is most comedians, when they're starting out, tend to go and arrive at gigs in groups. You know, there'll be one driver, probably the one guy who has a car, who's not given up his day job yet, and can still afford to get people to places. So it's quite a dire situation when you start out. But you've got to have a go at all the gigs. All the gigs, there's many different types. There's open, gong, bringer, bucket, charity, pro. As I read out that list, I realise that it sounds a bit more like an orgy than a comedy gig, but trust me, it is not that exciting. Nowhere near. And I'll give you some examples of that. An open gig is exactly what it sounds like. It is open. Anyone can come along. And not just comedians. No, you're also talking folk singers, jazz musicians, jugglers, Boris Johnson. They'll take anyone. Oh, you always get a laugh out of Boris, don't you? Yeah. But just to give you a bit of an example of this, and the next one would be a gong. And again, as I say gong, it makes it sound like it's probably quite a kinky thing, but it's really not. No, it basically means you get 3 minutes to flout your wares, and if you are deemed as not sucking, they will allow you to carry on for another 2 minutes. And if you get to do the full 5, you get to stay around and do a minute at the end in the final, so they can pick a winner. It's really exciting. Well, it's really exciting unless your driver got gonged off after 3 minutes and sodded off with the car and you have no lift home. So, down with the brakes. Then we've got bringer gigs. Well, bringers are exactly what they say on the tin. You have to bring someone with you in order to be allowed to perform. That person has to come along, buy drinks, and then they'll let you on. It's basically pay to play, but it's not you that's paying, someone else has to. The problem with that is it's really hard to get support. When you start out, people are always, oh yeah, I'm going to come, I'll come and see you. There's no problem at all. Everybody wants to come and help you out. Except when it comes to the actual night for coming. You get a lot of excuses. Yeah. Oh, it's a long night. Oh, it's too far to go. Oh, I'm working. I'm in hospital. You know, poor excuses like that. So, as a result, you find yourself at these bringer gigs having to, you know, hang around outside and see if you can make friends on the way in and go, can you come with me? Can you be my friend? Come on. It's the only way you'll get on stage. It's the only way to get some time. The whole getting people to come with you thing, lockdown should have made that easier. Getting support from people, lockdown should have made that so much easier, because you're like, oh, watch my show. And then people are like, oh, I'm busy. How? You're not allowed to go anywhere. You are in your house and I am basically coming to you. How can you not come? Get quite emotional about my gigs. Before I get too negative, and I get the idea that that's coming, not all of comedy's bad, otherwise you wouldn't do it. There are some good things about it. Like, there's that moment where you've got the audience in the palm of your hand. It happened to me once. It's actually my first time ever doing comedy. First time ever doing stand-up. I remember it well. I was halfway through my first joke and people roared with laughter. I was livid. Couldn't have been more distracted. Totally threw me off. I mean, who the hell comes to a gig just to laugh at the guy on stage? I mean, obviously, I was hoping for some laughs. That goes without saying. But they laughed at the wrong bit. I hadn't thought I'd got to the funny bit yet, and it totally threw me. So I did the one thing, the only thing that I could do. I gave them a damn good telling off about it. I had a proper go at them about laughing inappropriately. It's the last I heard from them that night. The worst thing about doing comedy, getting started comedy, is actually most of the gigs are at night. And that's a problem for me because I like to go home early. It bugs me. I don't like, you know, I'm a home bird. I like to be at the house. So actually this whole lockdown thing has suited me, doing gigs like this. Perfect. You know, it's great because it means I don't have to hang around the gig waiting for my time. I don't have to make friendly conversation with someone who seems perfectly normal and then turns into a freak the second they step on stage. I'll never forget that gig. You don't have to feign support of other people, because let's be honest, I only really care about myself. So, and then I don't have to, you know, I don't have to make an excuse of why I've got somewhere else to be the second I get off stage, so I don't have to hang around for anyone else. Oh, for that really important engagement, I'll give you a hint, I've got nothing. Nothing. I just want to get home, get a cuppa and watch I'm a Celebrity. That's it. That's it. Nothing more. And I'll be honest, there is nothing worse than hanging about after a gig's over, especially if you've been booed. Because I'll be honest, people don't forget. If you stood there, there'll be 2 more comedians have been on and people will still be standing there going, boo! It's brutal. Absolutely brutal. The other worst thing, actually, don't you hear it when people constantly go, the worst thing is, and then they list like 20 things that's the worst things. You're like, seriously, dude, only one of them things can be worst. Some of them must just be annoying. I know it's annoying, isn't it? Anyway, the other worst thing about getting started in comedy is when people from your work find out that you do it. You always get that one that comes along and goes, alright, say something funny. I say, your face, and they piss off. But then you get the ones that are really inquisitive and are like, oh God, they get really excited. Like, I bet you get so much material out of us. Or the other ones who are like, can you mention me next time you're doing a show? Firstly, let's address the group who think you get a lot of material out of them. It's the fact that they think that they are, obviously, their antics are so hilarious that it's going to have a bunch of strangers in a comedy club rolling in the aisles. I mean, how's that? What is that? Can you imagine it? So then, John came into the office wearing odd socks. Oh, we laughed so much. I'll tell you, that'll get them going, won't it? Then there's the ones who are doing the, oh, can you mention me? Have you ever been to a comedy show? Why do you want someone to if someone's mentioning you in a comedy show, it is not going to be complimentary. Nothing positive will be said about you. I mean, because how would that look? Thank you, everyone. I'm glad you enjoyed that last joke. But I'd just like to take a moment and tell you about this person I work with. Their name's Robin. They're fantastic. That's all. Well, that'll get them going, won't it? No, it's... So what I did, to try and get around this, I wrote a sketch about friends from work. And I created all these colourful characters and said what the funny attributes were. Now, I will admit, it was not about anyone in particular, although there are people out here who do not believe me. But it wasn't about anyone in particular. But I think everybody kind of saw some aspects of themselves within the characters I created, which is absolutely fine. The good news is they've now told me to stop mentioning them at comedy shows, so I would say point for me. Then we get to, there's a few awkward things that come with comedy. One of them is swearing. Swearing is it's a real tricky subject, because if you swear in your comedy, and I often do, your show can't be regarded as family friendly. Luckily, I've never been regarded as family friendly, so I'm generally okay with that. Although, what you will maybe notice if you watch the last live show compared to this one, I am swearing a whole lot less. I've really scaled it down for this particular event. And the main reason for that is because despite my ample age verification warnings and all the rest of it, we did have a few viewers who were maybe a little bit below the required age to see the show on the last one. And then the parents did have some very awkward kind of, what does that word mean, mummy? You know who I'm talking about. I would like to have that skill though, to be able to do comedy that wasn't blue. You know, I feel like it would be a really useful thing to have. But, as I'm sure other comedians will agree with me, you'll sometimes be at a gig and if the recipients aren't, how might I say it, they might not subscribe to my particular highbrow intellectual comedy. The only thing you can really do to get that crowd on side is to throw in a swear word, or maybe a bit more of adult content, something that's going to appeal to them. And let's be honest, if you don't have that in your arsenal, you pretty much have to rely on actually being funny. The other thing is comedy, the world of comedy has moved on. Going out to comedy shows and comedy clubs and doing your stand-up, it's not enough anymore. You know, that's not how you get an audience. No, there's got to be other angles. So it's like every man and his dog has a podcast now. Everyone's got a podcast. I mean, I don't know who's listening to all these podcasts, but everyone's got one. Well, everyone apart from me. Because having listened to quite a few podcasts, I can quite happily say that the best ones are the ones where you've got a bit of a double act, a bit of to and fro, you know, somebody bounce jokes off of. And I realised that as much as I would like to do that, I couldn't because I don't actually have any friends. If I had, the bigger gigs wouldn't have me standing outside trying to find someone to take in. So podcasts are out for me. But luckily the other thing you can do is have a YouTube channel. And obviously I have one of them. And not being someone who's afraid to reuse a joke, if you did not realise that I have a YouTube channel, what do you think you're watching right now? Okay. But the problem with that is, as well, is I put on my friends from work sketch, and it was, you know, it was reasonably well received. But I remember a guy contacted me, another comedian, and went, "Are you turning this into a TV show? Are you writing this up?" Oh, quite like that. So I casually replied, "Oh, well, I'm definitely thinking about it. It's something I'm thinking about working on, yeah." And he came back to me really emphatically and was like, "Get on with it. Do it." It was like so severe. It was like I was in some way harming him by not doing it. It was bizarre. But then I started to think about the fact that why was I just kind of joking about it and why wasn't I doing it? And I think, you know, maybe people who are comedians, who have trained, may not realise that there are those of us out here who have had no training. Now, I get that you're going to find it very hard to believe with me being so polished and all. But no one's ever taught me how to do these things. So I'm like, how do you write a sitcom? Now, I read, there's a lot of jargon, and I read somewhere that someone said, 30 pages is a 30-minute sitcom. You want to do a 30-minute comedy sitcom, that's 30 pages. And I thought, fantastic, terrific. What type of pages? Are we talking A4, A5? Are we going the other way? Are we going A1? I mean, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? The size of an A1 going, oh, look, 30 pages of A1. It's like a 5-hour show right there. But then, you know, imagine it's A4. What margins have we got going? What size font? You know, I think, you know, it's a minefield. I honestly don't understand how to do it. Confuses me a little bit. But, you know, I'm sure I'll learn. Well, we're actually reaching the end of my little show here. This one was only going to be a little quick one, but I've got one last thing to cover with you. The actual worst thing about comedy, and I imagine this is true for most people, is the fear that you're not actually funny. Now, I always remember back being in school, and I had a friend called Gregor who said to me one day, we were walking along, and he went, I think you should become a comedian when you get older. And I thought, you know, that was the first time anyone had ever mentioned anything like that to me. I thought, yeah, I like to make people laugh. Sounds like a great idea. Mad that I'd never thought about that before. My life sorted. Then, about an hour later, I was talking to my friend Stuart. And I said to him, I think I've decided to become a comedian when I get older. And he looked at me, deadpan in the face, and he went, why? You're not funny. I've been to gigs where the laughter just seemed to roll in really easily. And I've been to gigs where the only thing that you could hear in the audience were crickets. And that's when I kind of realised that you'll never be funny to everybody. Not everybody will ever, not everyone will like your particular brand or your style or just you. You can't be funny to everyone. But then actually, I also realised that not everyone expresses their positivity in the same way. You know, there are those who, when they find something funny, they will laugh hysterically. I like those people because I need positive reinforcement now and again. So more of that, please. Then there are those who, when they find something amusing, they'll turn casually to the person next to them and go, that was funny. As much as I applaud your comment there, sir, could you raise the volume of that and shout it in my direction? Because yet again, as I said, I do like the positive reinforcement. And then you've got this other group. And the way that they like to show their amusement is by imagining that they're at a funeral. And they don't react to anything at all. They'll tell you afterwards that they really enjoyed the gig, but you saw no evidence of that during the show. But those are the breaks, and those are the people. So, in closing, whenever I go to do any gig at all, I always stand there and I always think, before I go out, I hope Gregor's in tonight, and I hope that bastard Stuart stayed at home. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, dim the breaks. If you did, please like, share, let your friends know, subscribe, do all of that kind of fun YouTube stuff. As I said, I love positive reinforcement, so you know, let me have some of that. If you want to do negative reinforcement, you can. I will probably ignore it, but that's just who I am. All right. Thank you very much. You've been a terrific audience, I think. Have a good night. Take care. Bye.